this week's episode of the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 58. I'm Goose. As always, I am joined by Mr. Healy himself. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in and for downloading. If you guys don't know, if you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you can find us there. It is important that you do hit the download button. That is the only way that we can truly see our analytics, our view count. Make sure you are following us on social media. We are SR Only Pod. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel as well, Standing Room Only Podcast. And then you could follow our personal social media. I'm iGoose with 4 O's. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitch as well. And we have Healy.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Healy6, and you can follow me on Twitch and YouTube at Healy6. Got a lot of news to talk about today. The NBA started back up last week. We talked about it briefly. NFL is coming down to the wire. Baseball, the hot stove, or the stove is hot. It includes the Cubbies. We're going to hop into it, though. Talk about baseball. We'll start off with the Padres. We're going to get to the Cubs in a few minutes. But the Padres are going out, and they're making big moves. They've gotten 2 pitchers that have finished top 2 in the Cy Young voting over the past 3 years. They got Blake Snell, who won the Cy Young a couple of years ago, and Yu Darvish, who actually finished second this year. Their rotation for next year, they do have Mike Clevenger, but unfortunately, he will not be there this season due to Tommy John surgery. It doesn't necessarily matter. Their lineup is stacked, or their rotation is stacked regardless. And then in 2022, their rotation will have Mike Clevenger in there. But the rotation as of now, they have Chris Paddock, Nelson Lamet, Joey Lucchesi, Blake Snell, and Yu Darvish. Unbelievable.
That's scary. That's scary.
And the last image we have of Blake Snell in a Rays uniform is him getting pulled in Game 6 of the World Series.
Pulled too early.
Is unfortunate.
Yeah, Blake Snell's been dominant for the last, I don't know how many years. Definitely gets most of the credit for that starting rotation. I mean, that Rays team was incredible. The Padres going out and grabbing Blake Snell, and was it the same day or like the very next morning Yu Darvish trade is finalized?
Yeah, within 24 hours.
I know we're all eyes are on the Mets and, Steve Cohen making all these moves, but man, the Padres, at first we were thinking, man, they spent all this money on Manny Machado and we don't really know what's going to happen. And then, Tatis comes around and he's dominating. So then you're like, whoa, this offense actually is pretty good. What's going to happen with the pitching? Well, they just made a huge splash, and all eyes right now are on the Padres. I'm excited. I'm excited for this upcoming season. The Padres, I was knocking their colors for a while. And then I know one of the episodes I was like, what's growing on me is the Padres colors. Seeing all of this talent in this UPS brown and yellow uniforms, it's going to be exciting to watch, man. I'm still kind of shocked. Obviously, Clevenger, as you mentioned, is going on the disabled list for the year. But I still think by adding 2 of the greatest arms for the past at least a couple of years, that I would say makes them a favorite, not only in their division, but even in the playoffs.
And they did it without giving up a lot of their farm system. They've had a great farm system the past couple of years, and I don't think they gave up anyone in their top 5 of their farm system. They still have Mackenzie Gore, who is their baby. He is a left-handed pitcher. He's expected to come up either this year or next year. And if he develops to the potential he has, wow, watch out. The Rays ended up getting Luis Patino, Francisco Mejia, Blake Hunt, and Cole Wilcox. I don't know much about Blake Hunt and Cole Wilcox. Those guys seem like prospects. Luis Patino, he is a major league ready pitcher. He throws hard. It's just he wasn't at the development level that the Padres liked and they would have rather had Blake Snell. They also have Mackenzie Gore, which I just mentioned. They have a couple other guys in their farm system to come up, and so he is expendable. With the Rays, he's going to do well there. They know how to work their pitchers in Tampa Bay. Francisco Mejia, he is a catcher. So when that happened, man, that Yu Darvish trade seemed inevitable because Mejia is gone. He's like a switch hitting catcher, not the best, but he's young. You could develop him still a little bit. He's not necessarily a catcher. You could probably move him to a different spot. Defensively, he's not great. But as soon as that happened, I knew Darvish was going to get traded because Darvish and Caratini both went to the Padres. The Cubs received a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 19 and 20-year-old, all guys within, I think the highest was 11. It was in between 11 and their top 20 prospects. So it's like a decent haul, but for a guy like Yu Darvish, who still has 2 or 3 years left on his deal, to not get back like a great guy, they got back Zach Davies. He's going to pitch like Kyle Hendricks. He's pitched in the Central before with the Brewers. He was a part of that 2018 Brewers team that was pretty decent. And he could develop like Hendricks. He doesn't throw hard. He's a pitch to contact guy. It's just, he won't replace Yu Darvish. They'll just have to see. Yu Darvish did have a little bit of an injury history, but he clicked the past year and a half. He's been unstoppable. He has a million pitches in his arsenal. I just don't feel like the Cubs got enough back, especially with the window that they're in. They got back guys that are 3, 4, 5 years away from even breaking the majors. It just doesn't make sense with that.
Yeah, I guess we're about to see what's going to happen because, I mean, with the Cubs, as you mentioned, they still have this window. Apparently, there's rumors that they're trying to shop Wilson Contreras now, who obviously is, as we know, some of these key pieces that were a part of that 2016 team. And now it makes you wonder, like, should Chris Bryant be worried? Should Anthony Rizzo be worried? Because, I mean, we talked about it a few times that this Cubs team was only a few pieces away. And then Darvish popped up on the trade block, apparently, and there was rumors. And then Blake Snell got, traded to the Padres. So I know we were texting about it and we were like, okay, Yu Darvish deal is done. It's not going to happen. He's staying put, which is good. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're going to give you this young talent here, which again, you never know what's going to happen with young talent. I think maybe the name of the game is here. Let's get 4 guys and 1 should be good. Let's get 25% on our return. I don't know where, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying for a mini rebuild, if they think that they're going to keep certain pieces. Maybe they keep Chris Bryant. Maybe they keep Anthony Rizzo and somehow hope these guys start to turn it around. And then, Javi Baez is right there, but I don't know. Schwarber's gone. These key pieces are gone. How do you feel, Healy? I know you're obviously it's almost like for me, I'm like living the dream. I'm waking up like on cloud 9. My Sox are coming around. They have a great season last year. They're ahead of their curve. And then you're like just walked into like a new episode of the Twilight Zone.
Well, I have a quote from Jed Hoyer that answers your questions of Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo, Contreras, Bryant, all that. Jed Hoyer, quote, "We have not been able to extend a lot of these players to extend that window. That's a fact. So with that, we know that we're coming to an end of this group of players, a wildly successful franchise-changing run with this group of players. We're coming to the end," end quote. Hearing that means it's done. They're going to try to get rid of Bryant. That means Bryant's gone. There's already rumors that he was next. The only rumors that I was hopeful for was that they would extend Rizzo and they would extend Baez. Baez is the one I want them to keep around. But unfortunately, hearing that quote, Jed Hoyer is like, yeah, we tried extending these guys. No one ever came to an agreement. So we're just going to get rid of everyone. Like, this group of players that won the World Series and have been good, unfortunately, we just have to demolish it all, push it to the ground and build it from the ground up and like just get value for these guys. I hate hearing that.
Everybody's on the block. It sounds like literally everybody. Like I said, Schwarber, there was a non-tender. They let him go. Uh, I mean, they did save a lot of money. I mean, Yu Darvish, they say. I mean, they're saving money, right? I don't know.
But
I don't know if
money
I've
wasn't
seen them.
really an issue, though.
He was
That's
not
the
an issue.
thing.
He was helping. Exactly. I get it. He's 34. But like pitchers, when you're good, you go until you're 40.
Yeah.
We've seen Maddox pitch. We've seen the Glavins, the Roger Clemens, all these guys pitch. Verlander, I think, is older than one of the oldest starting studs in the league
Yeah.
right now.
Well,
And pitching to me is like it's hard to come across good to great pitching, like consistent. Yu Darvish started off cold when he first came to the Cubs. And of course, in Chicago, it's like, well, here we go, another bad pickup. But then all of a sudden he's coming around. He's doing it. Lester got old. He's done. He's gone. Hendricks, flip a coin, I guess. You never know what you're going to get from Hendricks. He's a great pitcher when he wants to be. He's an efficient pitcher. But then now you have these other guys where it's like, who else is going to step up in place of Yu Darvish? I mean, granted, yes, there is young talent, air quotes, that they got from the Padres, but are you banking for 3-4 years down the road when you're only a few missing puzzle pieces from completing this again?
mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm confused. And normally I have a lot of good things to say about the Cubs, and I try to stay as non-biased as possible, but this might be one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
And like you're talking about saving money with Darvish. They saved money because they no longer have John Lester. They no longer have Tyler Chatwood. They are no longer paying Jose Quintana. Like all that money that they had to pay, they got a huge chunk back. It's not like they were at the brink of payroll. And I hate the fact that, going back to Jed's quote, they tried extending these guys. Every other team doesn't seem to have a problem with extending some of their players. You're telling me you couldn't extend Wilson Contreras? I don't think was ever going to get an extension, just because they have Miguel Amaya and they have two other great catching prospects, and catchers are expendable. But Javi Baez and Chris Bryant, you couldn't get a deal for? You're telling me your poster child, Chris Bryant, couldn't get a deal done? He's worth a lot. He thinks he's worth a lot. He wants a lot of money. Maybe the Cubs didn't want to pay him $35 million and they wanted to pay him $30 million, and they couldn't come to that agreement. Baez, though, you couldn't get an agreement with Baez? It just doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, over the past few years, because the Cubs were so stingy with their money, this irks me even more now. After 2016, the Cubs made almost zero moves trying to win. They signed Craig Kimbrell, which is cool. They did trade for Nick Castellanos one summer. It's not enough, though. They didn't do anything in the off seasons to try to better this team and go back to the World Series and win it. Why? Because they had to save the money to re-sign these guys. So if looking back on it, hindsight's 2020, but looking back on it, they could have just went out and spent that money then, because it wouldn't have mattered now. They could have went and signed some other guys to help them on that team.
They grabbed Yu Darvish.
Well, yeah, they did get Yu Darvish. Darvish did get signed, but he was hurt a little bit, and so they did go and get Darvish. But they didn't go out and get any position depth. They didn't try to make trades with other teams, and their management of their farm system, they depleted it. 2016, 2017 was when they officially depleted it with Dylan Cease and Eloy Jimenez. But
thank you,
man. Yeah, after that, their farm system still ranks very poorly in the major league system, and it's just a whole, being a Cubs fan now, it was a dream, and it's about to become a nightmare yet again. It
makes you wonder what the plan, they compete. I know, again, 2020 was a weird year for sports, for baseball especially. You can't really judge a book by its cover from 2020. But the Cubs competed. They did it extremely well considering the conditions. They're in a division that is okay. I wouldn't say that every team is great and has a chance to make the playoffs.
They could still win it without Darvish.
you can still win without Darvish. So my question is, what's their next move? Are they not like, if you have a team to compete with, I just don't see how they wouldn't be able to sign or re-sign or extend at least Javi Baez, if not Rizzo, who's getting up there in age, I guess. And then Chris Bryant, not one of the three. You didn't go in order like from first to worst on your list and say, oh, if this doesn't work out, I have a contract in mind for this guy. If this doesn't work out, I have a contract in mind for this guy. Like, look at their resume. They won it. They won a championship, first and over in 108 years or whatever it is, right? They're not old. Chris Bryant won an MVP. You have Rizzo, who's had multiple years of excellent baseball, who is always the most hit by pitch, who stands inside the box, is not afraid. And Javi Baez, who defensively sometimes I think it's Jeter on steroids, and his hitting's a little off. His hitting has gotten better. He hasn't been striking out as much, but he's also a guy who can hit over 30 bombs a year. And you're telling me you can't pay these guys. Like, they are saying what you are offering me, if it's true, what you're offering me isn't good. I'm worth more. That tells me you're lowballing them if you're even offering them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they just saying that for publicity? Because, I mean, Chicago is good at eating up the players and management. And, I mean, it's one of the hardest markets to do anything in for sports. Are you saying that as a publicity stunt? Like, yeah, just letting you know, I tried to offer these guys something. They didn't like my offer. So we're going to go out and now we're going to trade Yu Darvish. Like, what? The math just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up for me.
And like, I hate how the Ricketts keep crying that they are poor. You bought the Chicago Cubs. They're worth so much money. They bring in so much revenue. They won the World Series. They have a TV deal. They have their own TV network.
They modified Wrigley completely.
And they're crying that they have no money because they renovated Wrigley, and they said that they had to spend double what they like expected to spend, which that shouldn't come back to player spending. You're going to make money in the end.
It's taking advantage of the fans. If I can say one thing about Cubs fans, besides the fact that every time you go to Wrigley, it's a drunk fest. They will always sell out. Every game, they sell out. When there's fans allowed, they will sell out. They win 60 games. They're selling out every single game. And there's just so much to do in Wrigley. So you're basically taking advantage of your fans because you know they're going to show up every single day, no matter what. It's just, it's an event. It's not like, I mean, as a Sox fan, I don't know how many games I've gone to, and I'm able to work my way up 20 rows because nobody really cares. Not a lot of fans there, right? Wrigley's always selling out. So you're basically saying, we don't have the money, right? We're broke, quote unquote, which they're not. And you know for a fact you're going to sell out. Each person's going to spend $100 out of their pocket to drink and have a good time at Wrigley because that's what you do. And you're saving money on these players and you're taking advantage of the fans at the end of the day. When in reality, you have a very talented team. You have good pitching. You have solid bats. Some guys aren't performing as they should have. And Schwarber, I don't know if he's ever going to be that great. So, okay, let Schwarber go. He was the heart and soul for a season or two. But you're telling me that you don't want to spend money. You are literally saying, I offered these guys something and they all said no, which means you did not offer them a good amount of money that any other team in the MLB, maybe it's the Padres, maybe it's the Mets, who are willing to say, let's give the fans what they deserve. Mm-hmm. And as an owner, you are looking at it from a business standpoint and you have no sense of understanding what it's like being a fan in your heart at all.
Nick Castellanos, he really wanted to come back to the Cubs. He signed a 4-year, $64 million deal. 16 a year. That's not a lot for the caliber player. He didn't play too hot in 2020, but the caliber player he was or is way more than 16 million. It would have fit in so well. Michael Brantley's on the market right now. Why isn't he signed? 2, Kyle Schwarber's gone. You could have easily signed Michael Brantley, who would pick up that average, keep that lefty bat in the lineup, and play okay defense in the outfield.
I'm surprised. I
And
mean,
they would
like
have
you
a
said,
very solid lineup. They would have Baez, Rizzo, Happ, Bryant, Perez. You'd have Nico Horner probably up still, Jason Hayward, Michael Brantley. That right
Hayward
there,
turned it around.
that right there is 8 people. And then a
who's to say,
DH if possible.
who's to say they don't? And then all of a sudden they pick up Trevor Bauer. And then all of a sudden, this whole conversation is a waste.
But that's not happening, though.
Yeah, they would have to prove us all wrong.
Yeah, especially because Bauer apparently wants like a $50 million a year contract.
Oh my gosh, man! I mean, he's good.
Well, I think he wants a lot, and just because then he'll get a little lower, which will be still higher than what.
Yeah, work your way in between. Yeah. I mean, for him, if I'm him, I want to go to a championship contender. And if the Cubs, like I said, the whole thing with Yu Darvish just rubs me the wrong way as just a fan of the game. It makes you wonder: are they in the talks with somebody? Like, why else would you just say, you know what, we're gonna wait 3 to 4 years before we again? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
They are definitely not in the talks with anyone. Trading Yu Darvish is saying our window's over. These guys walk, we are done. Like, we are completely done. We need to try to get somewhat of a farm system. Yu Darvish, he still had a couple years left. This is the highest value he would have. Who knows? He could have pitched 2 games next year, got injured, his value way down, and he's like worth nothing. So the Cubs had to take this value. They already know KB's gone. They already know Contreras is probably gone. Rizzo and Baez still undetermined. Who knows? They could sign a contract extension at this point. It'd be kind of weird. Unless they would have to sign, like, it would have to be probably like Baez, and you would have to sign like a 8-9 year deal for him to like actually stay. I don't feel like a 4 to 5 year deal for him would be worth sticking around through these bad times that are coming up.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree with you on that. And to me, he's the one you got to keep.
It's just sad being a Cubs fan. I was always a big believer of Yu Darvish. He had those struggles when he came back from injury. I kept believing in him. People were clowning him on Twitter. I remember, I think it was 2019, beginning of the year, his first start. So he didn't pitch too well. He had probably 6 walks. And I think I pointed out, like, his stuff looked good. It's just his control wasn't too great. He needs to get down. You can
work on control, yeah.
And then I said, like, it wasn't a bad start, first start coming back. And I had so many people coming at me. And then second half of 2019, he was a monster.
He went off.
An absolute goon. And now the fans loved him, and he's gone. Which, that's funny to think about, how the fans were hating on him because he came in hurt.
It's tough. It's a tough market.
He came in hurt, and now that he was good, he's gone, and people are like, see you later, man.
It's tough, man. Chicago fans, Cubs fans, I just want to say we're here for you if you need a shoulder. Or if you ever want to jump over to the South Side bandwagon, we accept it. We accept it all. No, seriously, though, I do wish nothing but the best for the Cubs organization and their fans. They don't deserve it. 100 years was treacherous enough. Another 10 years might be bad, considering they still have talent on the team.
Yeah, and you see, like, these other teams, like the Dodgers, who are consistently championship caliber teams year after year.
Making moves. They
could have prolonged the window so much longer, but each and every step was terrible. And what they're doing right now just proves Theo knew what was happening, and he probably didn't have a lot of control. He probably didn't like it, and he knew what was going to happen in the end throughout this next year or so. So he's like, you know what? I'm done. Here you go, Jed. Take the
adios.
Keys.
Yep.
This won't be on my name.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Season's right around the corner. We're basically in January. Well, in a couple of days, we're going to be in January. 1 month after that, pitchers and catchers are going to report. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's some talent out there in free agency still. So,
Man. Well,
but
every episode over the next few months, you guys will probably come to the vent show of Healy talking about how bad the Cubs are doing with their move.
yeah,
Because
moving forward, yeah.
we are definitely gonna see more Cubs moves towards spring training, and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. You guys are gonna want to tune in though, as I'll release the pain by just speaking about, just talking it out and releasing the sadness.
So that's going to wrap up baseball. Unless you have any other news, Healy, I don't think there was really anything major besides the Padres just jumping up and standing out and the Cubs digging a 6-foot hole. But besides that, guys, we're going to jump over to the NBA where, wow, start of the season has been fun, minus a couple of key injuries. There is some key injuries going on. We have some players stepping up, stepping out. As they normally do. I want to get started on let's talk about the injuries first. Yesterday, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Ja Morant was suffered a grade 2, I believe, ankle sprain.
I think it was
And is out
yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah, so he's out for up to 4 weeks at least. Considering he's a major asset, he is the future of the NBA moving forward. I don't see the Grizzlies winning many games without him and Jaren Jackson also being hurt. Um, I don't know if we're going to see a whole lot of Ja Morant moving forward. He's going to be out 4 weeks at least. Ankle sprain is best case scenario considering how he hobbled off the court in pain to the point where they had I'm pretty sure, wheelchair him off. It's a scary sight. Obviously, us being from Chicago, I don't know how many times a year I see the video of Derrick Rose tearing his ACL. How many times I've seen Kevin Durant tearing his Achilles and other superstars. So luckily it's only an ankle sprain, but it is a pretty major deal. He's going to be hurt. He's going to be feeling it for a while. So, always wish for a speedy recovery. So Ja Morant, who is our prediction for most improved, might have us thinking otherwise. I think if he does come back, and I know myself and Healy talked about it, if he plays enough games, the most improved just wants to see literally your numbers jump up. That's it. So I don't think that's going to be affected there. And then, of course, Spencer Dinwiddie of the Nets had a partial torn ACL. He's done for the whole year. We talked highly of Spencer Dinwiddie the last episode, I believe, and the episode before. Just this whole Nets dynamic. You have the starting five, and you have literally the bench. Not a six-man, you have the bench. Which is loaded. And I've been a fan of Spencer Dinwiddie the past couple of years. He grinded through last season without the superstars. He showed up and showed out, and he's out for the season. He's done for the season. It's a huge impact. And I know myself and Healy, we texted each other as soon as that happened. And it was just, it's a huge hit because you like to see good guys who step up and are never, ever recognized, who are constantly putting in the work. You want to see them win. Healy, I don't know about you, but I know your initial reaction, but what kind of impact do you think that's going to make on the Nets? I still think they're winners. I think they're still are the favorite out of the East, but definitely there's an impact there, right?
Yeah. So we talked about last week our NBA predictions. I even predicted the Nets to win the finals. Why?
Mm-hmm.
The depth of their team is amazing. Besides Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, tonight they aren't looking so hot. They're facing the Hawks. Irving has 8 points on 3 of 18. We won't talk about that right now. But Spencer Dinwiddie was a big name. Karis LeVert, Joe Harris were all big names of scorers for that Nets team. And this definitely is a huge blow to their depth. Obviously, their team's still very good without him. The rotation will still be fine without him. They're going to be a very solid team. I'm not changing where they're going to end up in the standings because of this injury, but it definitely will hurt them a little bit when it comes to the offensive end of the floor. It's sad to see. He could put up a huge game when some of these guys aren't stepping up. The Nets could go out and probably, I around the trade deadline, we could see them pick up a veteran. We always love the trade deadline that ends up turning into a veteran player on a bad team being
Yeah.
released and going to the team that he wanted to anyways. So I think the Nets
Yep.
will fill his spot, but he will be missed. Like you can't find an exact replacement for him. Like there's going to be I can't think of a name off the top of my head, but there is going to be a guy who gets released around the trade deadline that they will pick up. He will be a decent scorer. And just sucks because one of my reasons I picked them over the Lakers was if they are completely healthy, they would win just based off depth. But against
Yeah.
a team like the Lakers, that could be the turning point. That could
Yeah, because
change it from a 7-game victory into a 6-game series loss.
yeah, yep, exactly. It's not just about the starters. The bench matters. The bench makes a huge difference. Now we get to see Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet's been a guy where he shoots lights out. He's got a burner from downtown. He's pretty good. Now we're going to see him step up and play more minutes. So he's only averaging probably 20 minutes a game. Going into this game, I think in the game right now, he's got like maybe 15 minutes through 3 quarters. So he's probably going to get close to maybe 22, 23 minutes. But Karis LeVert has already been stepping up. So Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie are the two guys on the bench. Now it's a matter of, as you mentioned before, they can actually go out and pick somebody up or trade somebody. Who is going to be that guy? I would not be surprised to see the mix of Landry Shamet and Taurean Prince is there for his defense, but I don't see anybody really else on that bench who's going to do much. I know they have Tyler Johnson, who's shown signs previously with Miami, but he's kind of fallen off of the radar. It's gonna hurt them. And as you mentioned, in a final series against a team like LA, who has Montrezl Harrell, who has other talent coming off the bench, Kyle Kuzma, Dennis Schroeder. They have a lot of talent. And now that the Nets are going to be missing a key piece, unless Karis LeVert steps up and takes over that role where he is literally the sixth man putting up 24, 25 points a game, I don't see them really being the team to win it. And I already had the Lakers winning it all. So now I feel more confident with the Lakers now that, and I'm not saying Spencer Dinwiddie is the answer to everything, but he takes a huge hit. I mean, he scores. He does it all on the offense. He can run the point. He can run the 2 guard. He fills up a stat book. So it's tough.
They did start Timothy Luau Cabaret
Yep.
today. I didn't even know who this guy was, if I'm going to be honest. He's from France. He's been playing for 4 years now. But he's the starting shooting guard. He was not the one I was expecting to start tonight. He was with Chicago. He was with Chicago a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he had a short stint with Chicago. He's actually not even that old, but he's been around the league quite a bit. I guess he's an okay replacement. Philly, Chicago for a few games. I think they got him from OKC that year. And then Brooklyn the last few years. He's had good games. Last year he only played, I think, like a few games.
Played 47.
47 games. And then the postseason, he ended up putting up 16 points a game. I mean, they were just hurt. I mean, they didn't have anybody, so he played. But he's not a bad fill-in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a matter of right now is when you have 2 superstars on the same team that are going to put up numbers. I mean, Durant and Kyrie, right? Where are these role players going to step up? And I think maybe he could be an answer. Joe Harris definitely has to be another one. Joe Harris obviously got that huge contract in the offseason strictly because he is lights out from downtown. Didn't he win the 3-point contest one year? Or he got into the finals and he didn't really ball out in the finals. But either way, the Nets. I like the Nets. They have the pieces. Tonight against Atlanta. He did win. Okay, he was lights out. I remember that. They're in a close one in Atlanta. It's 104 to 101 at the end of the third quarter. Atlanta's got a pretty good squad there. Obviously, John Collins, they have Trae Young. I think Atlanta is one of the other favorites in the East. I've been talking highly of them for the last season since we saw them play over a season ago. I've been highly on Atlanta. So I can't really look at tonight as being saying a whole lot. Kyrie Irving only has 8 points. You're not going to get that every game from him, but the Nets they're taking a hit right now. They're definitely taking a hit.
Just looking at it, the Hawks starting lineup tonight is super tall. Well, you have Trae Young at 6'1", but everyone else is like 6'8" or above.
Yeah, they're running Cam Reddish at the 2 guard, who's actually playing pretty well. Cam Reddish is 6'8". They obviously have Clint Capella back,
Who's
John
6'10".
Collins.
Collins is 6'9". Hunter 6'8".
Yeah. So they're a big team and they all shoot. And then don't forget off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic has like 18 points, 17 points, something like that. Yeah. I mean, I like Atlanta. Atlanta to me is easily can be a top 4 team.
Sticking with the basketball, probably a topic we didn't think about, but I thought of as I was taking a look at some of these games. We need to talk about the Bulls.
Oh, man.
Oh, I have watched pretty much all their games so far. They beat Washington last night. They're 1-3. But man, this team has looked terrible. They've been absolutely garbage. I expected them to be an 8th seed team. Right now, I feel like they finished like 12th in the conference with how they're playing. It is the start of the year. They do have a lot of younger guys on their team. They don't really have that veteran leadership on that squad. They're older guys. Who is it? Like Otto Porter? Is he one of their older guys?
Yeah, he would have to be. I mean, besides
Felicio.
Yeah, Felicia, I guess that would have to be it. Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. I know Garrett Temple's one of the veterans, I guess. He's back and playing pretty well. I think yesterday in their win was his first game of the year. I could be wrong. Besides that, yeah, there's nobody else. Thaddeus Young, we haven't really seen.
Mm-hmm. He's played 3 games.
Yeah, so Temple has been playing. Okay. So the Bulls, yes, they started off 1-3. I personally think they should be 2-2 right now. They should be a 500 team. They blew the game against Golden State. To be fair, there was a 5-second violation that didn't get called. There was an offensive foul that didn't get called on the same play. Did they give up the game-winning 3 to Damian Lee? Yes, there was just bad defense, but that is our biggest flaw. The Bulls' biggest flaw right now is their defense. Their offense isn't bad. They're 11th in three-point percentage. They're 15th in points scored. Rebounding is 24th. You don't win games if you don't grab boards or if you're giving up a lot of offensive boards. And their field goal percentage is horrendous. They're 26th in the league at 43%, which tells me if you're 11th in three-point shooting and they're shooting a lot of threes, that tells me your guys in the paint are not doing anything. Wendell Carter is not doing is not filling it up as much as we expected, as much as we saw the year before. We have not seen Daniel Gafford very much. Pat Williams isn't really doing much either. His mid-range is okay. He's hit a few threes. Lauri Markkanen had a horrible game last game. He scored 9 points. He only played 20 minutes. He did get hurt in the game before. Otto Porter had a good game. He filled it up. But I think if they can start to raise that field goal percentage a little bit and do a little bit better defensively, I think they could end up being close enough to being a 500 team to where they can sneak and compete for the 8th seed. Are they doing the play-in again for the playoffs this year?
I think they might.
I think they were supposedly discussing it, right? Like I don't even know if that's set in stone.
I don't know if it's official, but I think it's like going to be highly like.
Yeah, they're not going to compete for the division. Indiana's too good. Cleveland is balling out. Milwaukee Milwaukee. I think they will still be good. The fact that they just blew up Miami and only got 9 points from Giannis and the rest of their team and Drew Holiday's looking amazing. I do not see the Bulls competing for the division. That takes away 3 spots, the top 3 seeds, and then, obviously you're going to have a 4th seed that's usually as good as the other first place teams.
Mm-hmm.
So the bottom 4 seeds is very doable. I would say maybe not 4, 5, 6, maybe not 7th, but that 8th seed I would say is very doable. I don't know if Orlando is going to continue to compete at the level they're competing at. Maybe. They're usually pretty good. Atlanta's up there. I don't think Charlotte's going to be that great. Washington is yet to win a game, which you and I both discussed how the Rockets were getting the better end of the deal at the end of the day, and it's proving to be that way. Toronto, I don't think is going to really be I don't know if Toronto's going to be a 500 team. I know they've been good in years past, but with Brooklyn there in their division, they have to see Brooklyn a lot. They have to see Boston. Philadelphia's playing pretty well. I don't know if Toronto is going to win as many games this year. The Bulls at least get to see Detroit a bunch. They get to see Indiana, who they played pretty well against. Indiana's got a good team. And Cleveland, who we don't know how they're going to be. So I still consider them a high probability of being maybe within 3 games of 500 by the end of the season. And we got to think, we don't know if this lineup that we're seeing of Pat Williams, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell, Zach LaVine, Kobe White is going to be the same starting 5 a few weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Donovan has a lot to do. He's got a lot to work with. So I think that, they are going to lose a lot of games and their defense is going to be bad just because we don't know the rotation that's going to work yet. And also, I hope they make a trade. I'm at the point where I love Wendell Carter. He had a double-double yesterday, 10 points, 12 boards. I can do without. The double-doubles don't mean nothing to me. Everybody's getting a double-double these days. Nikola Jokic had a quadruple-double with turnovers yesterday. So, to me, Pat Williams is looking good. We don't know what his role is going to be moving forward, if he's going to start trying to shoot the ball more, but defensively, he's playing his position well. Zach LaVine's looking pretty good. I think Kobe White is going to be the X factor for the Bulls. And by that, I mean, he shoots a lot and his percentage has not been good. So we'll see what ends up happening there as well.
Hasn't been too good so far, and he's been reckless on the court. There's been multiple drives I've seen him run towards the rim, and he just falls. He trips over himself, and he gets too fast, and he loses his balance. He loses his balance, and just the ball just goes out of bounds. And also, I was watching against the Wizards. He had a wide open lane. There was 2 seconds left, so he had to move quick to the basket. But this man came from the left side so fast, and he threw it up with his right hand, and it just flew off the backboard. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're an NBA guard, for one, and you're going up with your right hand on the left side of the basket, and his balance and coordination and his tempo was way too quick. That could get adjusted. That's more of a rookie type mistake of him moving too fast. But
I agree. My biggest thing for him, he's so shifty. He's got good handles. He's 8 for 8 from the free throw line. He can shoot the free throw, I would say, pretty well. Last year, he was about 80%, which is okay. But he's only going to the line 2 times a game. 2 times a game, you're telling me you are driving. You have Harden, who goes to the line 15 to 16 times a game because he's so good with his handles. He gets everybody off the dribble. He's able to blow past defenders and use his body to get to the line. I think that they have to somehow develop him into not only shoot the 3 ball, but to drive and work the paint. And I know his inside game is not the best. He doesn't have that inside game. But if they can somehow get him to the line more, you have Zach LaVine, who is going to the line sometimes 10 times a game, almost. He's going to the line 23 times. That's 3 times the amount the point guard who's shooting 18 times a game, who's handling the ball the whole game. Those free throws matter. It makes a huge difference. There's a lot that can be worked on, and I trust as a fan, I trust Billy Donovan to work with these guys. I trust Billy Donovan, Mo Cheeks. I trust the whole coaching staff to eventually make the right tweaks. I want to say tweaks because they're not far off. They could have beaten Golden State. They played very well against Washington. They against the Pacers, they did get blown out. I wouldn't say blown out because they competed with them the whole game. Sabonis had a really good game. Can't take that away. But they did lose by 19 points. But the first 2.5, almost the whole first half, they competed. So they have what it takes to compete day in and day out, every quarter, with a few tweaks. So we'll see what ends up happening. As a fan, yes, I'm very disappointed, but I'm not ready to give up on them quite yet. Not yet.
Mm-hmm. I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll see the final Billy Donovan line.
Yes,
and
I
then
agree.
It should get a lot better from there on out. Looking at the team too, like I didn't realize how short this team is. Like I was talking about how tall the Hawks team is. This Bulls team isn't too tall. You got Markkanen at 7 feet, but I don't see him as like a tall big man. He doesn't have the body and strength to do that. Wendell Carter's a 6'9" center. Pat Williams is decent. He's 6'8". Zach LaVine, 6'6" shooting guard. Kobe White, I think 6'4". But like off the bench, you have Garrett Temple, who 6'5". Got Satoransky, who's 6'7", but he's like a guard. Hutchinson is 6'7". He's playing like the power forward. Yeah, Gafford, who's 6'10". He's more of like a center, but this team just doesn't have. They have a great like supporting cast and group, but I feel like it's the wrong type of positions and players.
They're shooting a lot of threes and they're undersized. Does that remind you of any team in recent past?
One that had a couple superstars, the Rockets.
Yeah.
That helped them out, though, that they had a couple superstars with them or star players.
I love Wendell. I think he's a great player. I do not think there's any reason that Daniel Gafford gets 6 minutes in their win. Why, in a close game, a loss to Golden State, he doesn't play. He's literally the biggest guy we have next to Cristiano Felicio, who is not worth 10% of his contract. But like you mentioned, Pat Williams is 6'8", running the small forward, and Wendell Carter 6'9", running center. Lauri Markkanen's perfect height. He's a 7-foot power forward. He's versatile. He's inside-out scorer, right? Okay. If he's an inside-out scorer, Wendell Carter, sure, he's going to get a double-double here and there. He's going to get you 11, 12 boards. Any center in the league, today's league where teams are shooting way more, double-double does nothing for me. Give me the big guy who's going to body in the paint, who's going to be close to 7 feet, who can throw it down when he has to, who is able to Wendell Carter's good defensively when it comes to getting blocks sometimes. I just think you need that center. There's teams out there who would rather play a garbage center than somebody like a PJ Tucker who can shoot the 3 ball and is way undersized. And it just doesn't make sense to me to keep such a small team on the court. Markkanen can play center.
I think he's too soft, though. He doesn't play like his height. That's plays true. As if he's like a 6'4" shooting guard.
Yep.
He isn't strong enough. You never see him. He's 7 feet. Why do we never see posters from him? He doesn't attack the basket. He's afraid to be underneath the basket. And same with his defense. His defense isn't good. He is not
it's
great.
Not.
He's just I'm not going to say waste of space, but his height, he could be 6'2" or 7'5". It doesn't matter. He's going to play the same way. And it's going to be outside, like along the 3-point line. There's no inside presence. I'd rather play Gafford. I'm thinking about it. I still probably would prefer Patrick Williams with this team. But draft night, could have traded Wendell Carter in the number 4 pick for probably James Wiseman. That would have been great. That would have been a good center to have on the team. But then we would have lost out on that small forward position. Who knows? Maybe the
which is
Wiseman pick
important.
probably would have been better. We'll just have to wait a couple years down the line to see how Patrick Williams develops. But James Wiseman seems like he'll be a decent center down the line.
He'll be good. The issue, going back to Lauri Markkanen, I'm gonna give him a pass. Dirk Nowitzki, being a 7-foot power forward, was pretty damn good. He shot the ball. He was able to get to the line quite a bit. His defense was okay. I would say his defense was pretty good. He averaged like 9, almost 10 rebounds a game, multiple seasons. If we can get that, I will accept the fact that Lauri Markkanen's a soft player. I'll take that. But he's got to start filling it up. He's got to start filling it up. We can't just have these games where he goes for 12 and 5 boards in 35 minutes. Like you can't have that from him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll give him time to develop. We'll see. I don't know how they're going to use him yet, but I do personally, I agree. They could have packaged. They could have got James Wiseman. So now I want to see Wendell Carter playing a lot, but I want to see Gafford in there. There's no reason you can't have 2 centers average over 20 minutes a game. You're telling me you have 1 center get 25, 30 minutes, and who's filling in at the center? You're going to run Markkanen at center, and now you're going to have other guys that are 6'8" all just fill the court?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think let Carter play, and maybe this is what they're doing. They know they have Gafford. Maybe you sell Carter. Maybe he has huge games, 20 and 10s, 20 and 12s, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, and you sell him on that. But you have to hope he performs and you can get something for him at the trade deadline, which could be a case. We don't know. Free agency next year, there's going to be some good picks. I just feel like there's so many different paths that Billy Donovan is going to take as a coach. And as much as I'm ranting right now, I am going to trust the process.
Okay. Man, the Bulls. They will be fun to talk about as the year goes on. But it's exciting. That's what's exciting about a team at this level. You're expecting them to get better. Another thing wanted to talk about, James Harden. The Rockets are 0-2. James Harden has played amazing, but the Rockets team is losing. They did play one game, I believe, without Wall and without Boogie. Last game, Christian Wood, he's been playing well. But
Christian Wood is incredible.
James Harden, he's putting up the numbers, but he's not. The team isn't doing anything with the numbers that he's putting up. I think he needs to get traded at some point.
He's still in the rumors every day. If you look up James Harden trade rumors, you will see that there are talks of him still being traded. Where that's going to happen, we don't know. They're starting off 0-2. If they can get John Wall on the court and be 100% healthy, have Christian Wood come off the bench because Christian Wood is incredible, or Boogie, either or. You can start either or. And they start winning games, maybe you keep them. Maybe you tell them, hey, look at what's going on. We have John Wall, who is playing like the John Wall of old. We're winning games. Or maybe it makes it even juicier to say, hey, James Harden's doing this while we're losing. You want James Harden on your team right now. Philadelphia is always at the top of the rumors. Philadelphia will thrive with him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And especially if they can make it work where maybe they trade Tobias Harris and some other assets. I could see them being a favorite in the East. I could see them competing with the Nets, going easily a 7-game series. There's rumors where the Nets are involved, him going to the Nets. the rumor was Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, but Spencer Dinwiddie's hurt now, so we don't know. Philadelphia, it would have to be, I know they're saying Ben Simmons would have to be the most logical trade for that to work. We don't know yet what's gonna happen with that. Miami Heat is a rumor. The trade would have to be the assets that I don't know if Miami's ready to give up. Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk, and Iguodala, veteran players. Don't see it happening. There's also the Nuggets, which is now we're getting to the point where there's so many teams. Nuggets would be like a Michael Porter who's starting to ball out, mixed with like a Will Barton and a Gary Harris, or Jamal Murray and a Will Barton for James Harden. There's a couple different projections.
I think the Trailblazers is one of them as well.
Yeah, Portland is another one. Portland would be an interesting one. It would involve CJ McCollum, Gary Trent Jr., who I personally enjoyed watching in the bubble last year. He played well. And then maybe like Zach Collins. That would, him and Damian Lillard would be great. CJ McCollum, you're getting value from McCollum. You're getting value from Gary Trent. The Trailblazers would definitely benefit a lot by adding James Harden. I mean, he is easily replacing CJ McCollum and doing much, much more. The Raptors apparently were in the rumors. It would be like a Pascal Siakam and like Norman Powell. I don't know if I really am interested in that or hearing that as a rumor. I think that Toronto is going to have to work their magic and maybe make a trade to where, I don't know, Kyle Lowry gets butt packaged somewhere. Kyle Lowry's getting old. He's not it. He was it for a season, and that's only because Golden State got hurt at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. Either way, if Harden stays, Rockets are a team worth watching. Yeah, they lost the first 2 games, but they've been without their stars. So if they stay healthy moving forward, do they have a chance to compete? Yeah, oh yeah. Harden is putting up numbers at a great rate again. So I don't know. I'm interested to see, but I think more than anything, I would like to see him get traded to a contending team.
Who knows? Maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll see that. I would like to see the Rockets play with both John Wall and Boogie, though. Looking at the game lineup that he had to play with, it was Harden, Daniel House, PJ Tucker, Daniel Nwaba, and Christian Wood. Christian Wood, he's been balling out pretty well, but like off the bench, Sterling Brown, Jayshawn Tate, Bruno, Broderick Thomas, like these guys aren't good. But it kind of makes sense that they have been losing with James Harden putting up insane numbers. But DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Eric Gordon as well. Once all those guys start playing, Mason Jones, yeah, he's out of college. But like those other 3 guys that I mentioned, once they are able to play, then who knows? Maybe that team ends up being pretty decent. We're going to have to wait and see on that. And now it is time for football. Week 17. There are still spots to be clinched.
One of the most important is, well, you can go ahead and start it off. I already know where you're going, Healy.
We're going to start off with the AFC. So far, the Bills are in, Chiefs are in, and they got the first round bye. Steelers are in. And then the remaining 4 teams between Baltimore, Cleveland, the Colts, and Miami, and Tennessee. 5 teams fighting for 4 playoff spots. Each of them have 10 wins at the moment. So there's going to be a team that misses the playoffs with 10 or more wins. And also, this year included another playoff spot. So we could have seen 2 teams miss the playoffs in the AFC if this was another year when they had 10 wins. But Baltimore, if they win, they're in. Or they can have a Cleveland or Indianapolis loss. And then besides that, it's just a bunch of tie scenarios. The Browns, they win, they're in. Indianapolis loses, they're also in. And then besides that, they just need a bunch of losses and wins from other teams. The Colts, they could still win the division. They need to win and have Tennessee lose. I'm pretty sure. Who are they going up against?
Tennessee's against Houston, which
Ooh.
Deshaun Watson's been balling out. And then the Colts have Jacksonville. So if I had a bet on it, my bet would be the Colts sneak in because, well, it's Houston. But then again, it is Houston's defense. We saw the Bears run all over them. And to be fair, the rest of the NFL kind of dominate that defense, even with a healthy J.J. Watt. I'm expecting, I want to almost said Lendale White. Lendale White has not been there for about 15 years. Derrick Henry to have a 200-yard game, combined yards. I'm expecting it. I'm expecting 2 touchdowns. They're out in Houston playing in the dome. There's no weather to hold him back. He ended up having a not a bad game against the Green Bay Packers and all that snow. I think Tennessee pulls it off and wins. Tennessee does have the tiebreaker against the Colts for the division. So as long as Tennessee wins, they're in. Obviously, there's other scenarios. Indianapolis, all they have to do is win and hope that any of those other teams lose, which is very possible. Miami, who's been pretty damn good this year, they're going against Buffalo. Now, Buffalo, as you mentioned, already clinched the division. Is Josh Allen going to play? He's playing for MVP. Maybe he plays the first half. Baltimore, they're going up against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not good, but guess what? Cincinnati just beat Pittsburgh and randomly are competing against teams. Cleveland. They have Pittsburgh. Now, obviously, Pittsburgh already clinched as well. So again, we might have a case of we see backups, but Pittsburgh's defense is still stellar. Cleveland can potentially not make. Just a couple of weeks ago, we thought for sure they clinched. I think the best bet is Indianapolis makes it. I think Indianapolis will be the for sure team that makes it. Baltimore, I think, is going to make it. Miami might be the team that loses. Buffalo is tough, even without a Josh Allen. If they can establish a run game, which I don't know, Miami's defense is good. It all comes down to what Buffalo does with their starters, just like in the NFC. I know we're going to get to it, but just like the NFC with Green Bay and the Bears.
Tennessee could miss the playoffs as well. Them or Indianapolis. If they lose and then all the other teams win out, like Baltimore, Cleveland, and Miami, the loser of Indianapolis and Tennessee would be out, I believe. I don't really know the kick out for the Titans. But yeah, a bunch of teams fighting for playoff spots. It's going to be fun to watch. As we know, week 17 is all divisional opponents, which is cool. It makes it interesting going down to the final week. NFC. 3 teams fighting for the number 1 seed. You have the Packers, Saints, and Seahawks. The Rams failed to win last week, so Packers are not the number 1 seed. I believe they hold the tiebreaker over the Saints, but the Seahawks could still somehow win the number 1 seed for doing something. Tampa Bay, they clinched a playoff berth. I think if Green Bay loses and Seahawks win, then they get the number 1 seed. But yeah, Arizona, they are currently in the hunt right now. They're behind the Bears. They clinch a playoff berth with a win or a tie and a Chicago Bears loss. The Bears clinch with a win or an Arizona loss.
So Arizona, if they lose,
wait, I don't know. This is making too much sense. I thought Chicago and Arizona. I thought if Chicago won regardless, they would be in, and Arizona would be like out.
Chicago has, I think, the tiebreaker on them. According to the standings I'm looking at, they're 3rd for wild card right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Arizona's 4th. So I would assume if Chicago wins, they're in. Like, that's it. Chicago just literally needs to win. But if Arizona loses as well, I think that guarantees them to be in as well.
Okay, so this win, I understand this now. They are going up against the Rams, who are 9-6. I was like looking, I'm like, where's the Rams loss in this scenario? they're just saying that Arizona has to win because the Rams would automatically lose in this scenario. So that makes sense. They win, it kicks out LA from the playoffs.
Wow. And their defense was good this year.
So Bears need to win or have Arizona lose. Both these games are at 4:25, which is a little disappointing because would have liked to have Arizona and LA play earlier, but obviously due to their time zone, they're going to play in that late afternoon slot. The Cowboys, there's a bunch of clinchers here for like the NFC East. You got Cowboys at Giants. You could win one of those teams if they win, and then Philadelphia beats Washington. Then those teams are in. If Washington wins, they're in. Weird scenario there. Green Bay, win or tie, or Seattle loss. Obviously, the Rams, they just need to beat Arizona. And then the Seahawks, they need a Green Bay loss and a New Orleans loss, plus their own win to make it in. So a lot of great games happening this week, especially Bears and Packers. It's going to be the big one.
Yep, 3:25 start on Sunday. I know what I'll be doing, Healy. I know what you'll be doing. Bears fans all around, I know what they're going to be doing. I know Bears fans were just hoping Green Bay would already had clinched the conference. Fortunately, that's not the case. And with it being only one team that's going to clinch, I would expect Rodgers to be in all 4 quarters. Don't expect Jordan Love in at all. And I would expect Devontae Adams to be burning everybody and I would expect, I'm going to call it right now, A.J. Dillon is going to get a lot of handoffs. I'm going to say he's going to get at least 8 to 10 handoffs off the bench, which is going to be good. It's going to be huge. He had a good game last week. The Bears defense, as long as they're healthy, though, if they have Akeem Hicks, if they have other important pieces, obviously, Akeem Hicks didn't play in the last game.
Quinn and Mack.
Yeah, Quinn and Mack. As long as Trubisky can get the ball moving, if they can establish a little run game like they did the first game and Trubisky is starting, which he is, I think it's going to be closer than what the spread is. I would not be opposed to taking the spread against Green Bay. It's 5.5, actually. I thought it was going to be higher. So maybe Green Bay covers the spread, but it's going to be close. Don't let the Bears record fool anybody. Don't let the fallout fool anybody. I've been saying it every week. They are a dangerous team, regardless of who they're playing. They matched up. They beat great teams like the Buccaneers, who beat Green Bay. They have it. It just depends on what team you get on Sunday. At the end of the day, it all depends. And I think that going into this week with that must win and the riding high with the winning streak, I mean, Aaron Rodgers can have a hell of a game. Devontae Adams can have a hell of a game. But if the Bears get that ball moving on our defense, I would expect it. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up pulling it off by 3, maybe 5 points.
Yeah, it's either that or it's going to be a Green Bay blowout in Chicago. Either or. I don't see the Bears blowing out the Packers, but I can see the Packers blowing out the Bears.
That's always possible. For some reason, Rodgers always picks one game out of the year to have 5, maybe 6 passing touchdowns against Chicago. He had a great game in the first game. He's had great games since like week 5. So obviously he's one of the leading MVP candidates next to Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. So I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to have a bad game, but it's all going to come down. Will the Packers defense force those turnovers on Mitch Trubisky? And honestly, with the way he's been playing, even with 1 turnover in the game, they've been moving the ball pretty well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Good luck, Bears fans. I'll be rooting for my Packers. And personally, I don't want to see Chicago in the playoffs because their defense is way better than Arizona's and a lot of the other defenses in the playoffs. So, I mean, let's face it. I'm not biased at all. I'm going to root for Green Bay because I am thoroughly worried about that Bears defense.
Yeah, I might have to watch the game together just to experience someone's pain this weekend.
Yeah, I'm glad I have the nice little sectional couch. You can stay in your section. I'll stay in mine. We'll socially distance. I'll order the pizza. Let's go.
So next week we are going to be talking about our division and like predictions from the beginning of the season, And we'll also go over probably our playoff predictions. Who we think is going to go through the playoffs. We'll go through our brackets individually and pick and choose who's going to win. And then, see how the playoffs play out starting next week. Playoff time already. Weird.
Playoffs?
It is weird to think, though. They got through all 17 weeks. There was a little hiccup early on, especially with the Titans.
They did well.
They did it. They got through it.
So that'll do it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that download button. Subscribe to us. It is important you hit download for the simple fact that we don't see our view count. We only see the downloads. I know we have hit 3,000, which is incredible. Make sure you guys tune in. We're on YouTube as well. Our social media, SR Only Pod, Twitter, Instagram, and then our personal. I am iGoose with 4 O's. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. And then we have Healy.
Follow me at Twitter and Instagram at the Healy6 and YouTube and Twitch at Healy6. So see you guys in the new year, 2021. Hopefully it's a good one.
Yes.